Hi, so I'm going to start a new painting. The materials that I will be using for this painting would be watercolor and gouache. This is a sketch that I did a while ago and it is actually inspired by a book that I read recently called The Mountain Is You by Brianna West. I started off this painting with a yellow undertone. I wanted to give this piece somewhat a warm look or a warm vibe. I drew two figures floating into space or beating around this broken clock. I wanted this painting to depict a feeling of losing time and space, not knowing where you are, not knowing if you're on the right track or not. So back to the book that I was talking about, which is The Mountain Is You. This book is actually about turning self-sabotage into self-mastery. It says so much about how everything we subconsciously avoid is actually an underlying problem of everything that we need to be able to change. Well, subconsciously, something that I tend to avoid will be starting over. I hate starting over so much. I don't know where I'll end up to. I don't know if I'll enjoy the process of it. I fear starting over so much, I just don't start at all. There's this state of limbo I feel myself fall into. It's like trying to wake up from a nightmare you couldn't because you were never asleep in the first place. And I was trying to run away from the monsters in my head. I wrote down a few highlights that I really liked while reading this book. Exposure is the most common treatment to irrational fear. I honestly agree that for every time we overcome this resistance to change, it gets so much better over time by doing something that feels unfamiliar to us. I remember this one time, I was fumbling on my first day at work. I looked around and noticed this one colleague who knew what she was doing. She stood out and she did everything so flawlessly. She worked for about a good 5 years, and I wondered how long it would take me to master my work like her. However, all my subconscious wanted to do was to avoid showing up at work, because I wasn't good at it. I didn't like the feeling of being a burden to my colleagues back then. It was pretty bad for the first few months, but I guess for every time that I show up, I got to learn something new and overcome that irrational fear. So, this is a reminder to myself. Growth is not a linear path, it is multidimensional. Growth does not follow a straight line, but is rather a spiral through space and time. Because your best self is actually sitting opposite you. But there's this mountain that we are intimidated to face. The fear of falling even harder as we climb. But in actuality, the things that are bothering us aren't external factors, but rather our own minds. And the more we try to avoid facing this mountain of ours, the tension gets so much louder. Gradually, we'll feel disassociated and be a victim to it. After reading this book, I do realize that a breakthrough is needed. This feeling of anxiety and uncertainty really needs to come to an end. To think of it, what's even scarier would be being the same person a year from now on. And it turns out that there weren't actually monsters in my head. It was the idea of monsters that kept me away from facing reality. And this feels like a wake-up call. Well, I'm not going to spoil this entire book because I really think you should read it yourself. But this quote by Brianna West hits home, and it goes, "You must release your old self into the fire of your vision and be willing to think in a way you have never even tried before. You must mourn the loss of your younger self, the person who has gotten you this far but who is no longer equipped to carry you onward. You must envision and become one with your future self, the hero of your life that is going to lead you from here." You could actually get an audiobook version of The Mountain Is You on Spotify for free. I'll put a link of this audiobook that I found in the description below, so do check it out. If you love reading self-help books like I do, I would definitely recommend The Mountain Is You. So here's the final outcome of this painting. Anyways, thank you so much for dropping by, and I really hope you enjoyed this painting process that I did. Let me know if you have read about this book in the comment section below. I'm still new at this, so let me know what I can do better as well. I hope you have a good day. Please take care wherever you are. See you soon.